LYMEN Studio.
The Hubble Space Telescope, named after astronomer Edwin Hubble, an American astronomer. He played a crucial role in establishing the fields of extragalactic astronomy and observational cosmology. Hubble Telescope is a space telescope that was launched into low Earth orbit in 1990 and remains in operation. It was not the first space telescope, but it is one of the largest and most versatile, well-known both as a vital research tool and as a public relations boon for astronomy.
Booster ignition, liftoff, Space Shuttle Discovery, taking the space station to full power for full science.
This is Mission Control Houston.
Roll program.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Discovery's roll maneuver is complete. It is now in a heads-down position on track for its...
Edwin Powell Hubble was born in November 20, 1889. His deep interest in astronomy began when he entered graduate school, with the help of his former professor from the University of Chicago, to study astronomy at the university's Yerkes Observatory, where he earned his Doctor of Philosophy in 1917. Hubble proved that many objects previously thought to be clouds of dust and gas and classified as nebulae, were actually galaxies beyond the Milky Way. Hubble provided evidence that the recessional velocity of a galaxy increases with its distance from the Earth, a property now known as Hubble's law, despite the fact that it had been both proposed and demonstrated observationally 2 years earlier by Georges Lemaitre. The Hubble-Lemaitre law implies that the universe is expanding. A decade before, the American astronomer VESTO SLIPHER had provided the first evidence that the light from many of these nebulae was strongly redshifted, indicative of high recession velocities. Edwin Hubble died of cerebral thrombosis, a spontaneous blood clot in his brain, on September 28, 1953, in San Marino, California. The Hubble Telescope was built by the United States National Aeronautics and Space Administration, with contributions from the European Space Agency. The Space Telescope Science Institute selects Hubble's targets and processes the resulting data, while the Goddard Space Flight Center controls the spacecraft. The space telescopes were proposed as early as 1923. Hubble was funded in the 1970s with a proposed launch in 1983, but the project was beset by technical delays, budget problems and the 1986 Challenger disaster. It was finally launched by Space Shuttle Discovery in 1990. The history of the Hubble Space Telescope can be traced back as far as 1946. To astronomer Lyman Spitzer's paper entitled Astronomical Advantages of an Extraterrestrial Observatory. In it, he discussed the two main advantages that a space-based observatory would have over ground-based telescopes. First, the angular resolution would be limited only by diffraction, rather than by the turbulence in the atmosphere, which causes stars to twinkle, known to astronomers as seeing. Marshall Space Flight Center or MSFC was given responsibility for the design, development, and construction of the telescope, while Goddard Space Flight Center was given overall control of the scientific instruments and ground control center for the mission. MSFC commissioned the optics company PerkinElmer to design and build the optical telescope assembly and fine guidance sensors for the space telescope. Lockheed was commissioned to construct and integrate the spacecraft in which the telescope would be housed and launched in the outer space. The spacecraft in which the telescope and instruments were to be housed was another major engineering challenge. It would have to withstand frequent passages from direct sunlight into the darkness of Earth's shadow, which would cause major changes in temperature, while being stable enough to allow extremely accurate pointing of the telescope. A shroud of multi-layer insulation keeps the temperature within the telescope stable and surrounds a light aluminum shell in which the telescope and instruments sit. Since the start of the program, A number of research projects have been carried out, some of them almost solely with Hubble, others coordinated facilities such as Chandra X-ray Observatory and ESO's Very Large Telescope. Although the Hubble Observatory is nearing the end of its life, there are still major projects scheduled for it.
6, 5, we have
Since its 1990 launch, Hubble has changed our fundamental understanding of the universe.
And liftoff of Shuttle Endeavour from NASA's final space station crew compartment that brings a bay window view to our celestial backyard.
This is Mission Control Houston.
In space above the Earth, that distortion of the atmosphere, far far above rain clouds and light pollution, Hubble has an unobstructed view of the universe. Scientists have used Hubble to observe the most distant stars and galaxies as well as the planets in our solar system. Hubble's launch and deployment in April 1990 marked the most significant advance in astronomy since Galileo's telescope. Hubble transmits about 150 gig of raw science data every week. Astronomers using Hubble data have published more than 15,000 scientific papers, making it one of the most productive scientific instruments ever made. Those papers have been cited in other papers 738,000 times. Hubble has made more than 1.3 million observations since its mission began. Here are some images of Hubble's telescope captured from the space. Special thanks for the support, Mr. Arthur Ombi Armia, Ben Marcute Tranquillo, Jordan Abranica, Maynard Gugai Ogmore, Jr. Talkader Cornelio, J.P. Martinez, Bolado Martinez, Mike Miki Yazahbeza, and Nelson Dorut Vidola. And that's all for now. Please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.